Sweet.
Yeah, I think we're on. Let's
Hey,
go.
let's do this thing. Hey, everybody. We're excited to see you. We're excited to be here. We wanted to share some stuff about Strengths Essentials today. This is Bill Mason with Rocket Fuel Coach.
And I'm Darcy Dunker with Darcy Dunker Coaching, and we both own our own businesses, and we're also executive coaches at We Align Coaching. So today, Bill, we're going to be chatting about like flipping the script on success, right? It's all about leveraging what you're already great at. So, Bill, do you mind if I start? I have a question for you.
That would
Okay.
Let's do
This is such a great question. I'd love for you, just as kind of an introduction of what it is that strengths can really do for people. Tell me about a time or a moment in your career when focusing on your strengths significantly propelled you forward. Significantly.
Yeah, that'd be great. So actually, big picture, I'll focus on my strengths, my weakness for a second. I flew Blackhawks in the Army for 10 years, and I thought, going into that to be the sexiest job ever. And after about 2 or 3 years, it was kind of, it's kind of boring. And I thought, I'm a big Uber driver, except we make a lot of money to do it, right? Pretty funny. So spool forwards 10 years, and I got out of the military and I started mentoring people. And as I focused on influencing people and being able to help them become the best versions of themselves, both through their strengths and also through figuring out who they were, man, it just skyrocketed my significance. I had so much more enjoyment out of life, enjoyment out of work. I feel like I haven't really worked a day in the last 30 years because for the last 30 years since I left the Army, I've been able to do exactly what I want that fits perfectly now, I understand, out of my strengths, which I didn't even realize for about 25 of those years. So yeah, I think focus on my strengths has really transformed my business, professional, and my personal life. How about you? Do you have a great story about how that's been true for you?
Oh man. Okay. I should have prepared an answer for that too. Okay. Let me think about that. Yes, actually I can think about that. So, I first became right out of college. Not out of college, going into college. I'm like, this is when like computer programming was such a big, you know what I mean? Just like really hitting I'm aging myself here, but really hitting the work industry. And I was like, that's it. I can do that. I can make money. I'm really smart. So I have no problem picking up on, anything. And so I'm like, okay, great. I'll do that. And so by the time I got into upper level courses, I'm looking around and it's like me and 3 other people in the courses, and they're all men. And so that makes me the only female. And
Sure.
none of them can look you in the eye and speak with you.
Yeah.
Because I know, right?
Right.
Because typically computer programmers are amazing. They have high thinking themes, right? And even high executing themes, where I'm the opposite. I have really high influencing themes, which means I love meeting new people. And I have really high relating themes, which means I really love talking to people. And I'm looking around like, one of these things is not like the other. So, but I didn't know what my strengths were then either. But what I knew was, thank you to a not grade 11, but like grade 7 summer camp, I knew that I loved being on stage. I loved being in front of people. I loved affecting the experience that someone was having in that moment. And so from there, I actually got into teaching, which fit for a really long time, actually. But even progressed even further in my strengths now, and really honing in on what it is that I do best and showing up as that every day. It's the best. Like you said, it feels like you're not even working.
That's the best, right? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Man, that's a cool story. Thanks for sharing. Pretty neat.
You knew about me, you didn't even know, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know. It's funny. I actually started my when I first went to college, my first year was computer programming, and it would have been terrible. I was decent at it, but it would have been stuck in an office all day, pounding away with other people who don't want to talk, right? So once again,
you're high influencing.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit just about, like how it's affected our careers, and both of us made choices without even knowing our strengths. But I'm assuming you're like me, and once you did learn your strengths, and then it becomes like you're really honing in and leveraging those strengths now. And but tell me, why should people focus on strengths rather than weaknesses?
Yeah, it's a great question. I as I've been coaching, which is really just taken my influencing themes to a next level and allowed me to be able to help a lot of CEOs and their teams. One of the patterns I see is a lot of people don't know their strengths. They think that if they covered up their weaknesses and they spend a lot of time working on their weaknesses, then they would get exponentially better. But what happens instead is they start getting burnout, right? So I know 12 of our clients have quit their jobs as they've focused on their strengths because they realized, oh, I'm in a dead end. I'm in a job that I'm not very well suited for. I'm kind of feeling burnout. Oh, this is never really going to change. And it actually often gave them the catalyst to give them the courage to go look for something else, a job in a similar field, but actually doing something different, kind of like writing and editing. If an editor had spent all their life trying to write all the time, they're probably going to face a lot of struggles and be frustrated. But if they were just focused on editing and edited other people's work, man, they feel successful. They help the writer become great. Together, they make these works of art. So I think, just helping our clients focus on this idea that you can focus on what you're great at. And if you have to work in your weaknesses, well, you just figure out ways to cover it. But you're going to be so much happier, so much more fulfilled if you'll just focus on what you're good at.
You know what? Thank you so much for bringing that up. Like, as a career success coach, I'm going to say that right. A career success coach. I coach a lot of people around. They're like, I'm just not happy in my job. And then we do their strengths and they're like, duh, now I see it. I'm operating out of those lowest strengths, those non-patterns, those things that I'm not meant to do. And again, like you said, they realize it's never going to change. That's not going to change in this role. And so really helping people, once they understand what they're really great at and what they're meant for, it gives them that confidence. So many people are afraid to career pivot, but once you're like crystal clear on what it is that you're amazing at, that's where the confidence boost comes in, and people have no problem then pivoting careers.
Super cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
Well, as you're helping people with strengths and strategies for that, what are some effective strategies for identifying what a person's core strengths are, do you think, that you're learning?
Well, I mean, number one, I would definitely say, hey, go take the Gallup assessment, right? Go take the Gallup strengths assessment, because that is just, it's remarkable. And we can talk about that too, like how specific that is. I know you have a great analogy with addresses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share that really fast?
Yeah, sure. So, most of our, actually, I'm going to bring something up too, because I have the slides for it too. Because I brought them, right? Whoops, that's not it. Let me turn that back off. Let me get to the slide. Oops, wrong one. Present slides.
Yeah, I'm kind of putting Bill on the spot here. He wasn't actually prepared, I don't think, for me to ask that, but I know he has this amazing analogy on why it is that, the Gallup strengths assessment out of any other assessment, I mean, I've taken them all. As a career coach, I've taken them all just so that I can know which ones are amazing. And this is it.
It is. And all assessments are great. They give you some kind of information. And actually, each of them is going to give you a different type of information. My story about the strengths. When I first came around, my buddy Dave Mead asked me to do this strengths coaching. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Clifton's, I'm not that impressed. I'm whatever. And so he's like, no, Bill, it's transformational. It's going to be awesome. It's going to really change your life. And I thought, transformational? Maybe. I was wrong. I was just completely wrong. So as we worked into the strengths, one of the things I realized was I had these limiting beliefs that it really helped me to unlock, because they were actually my strong points that had become weaknesses because I couldn't figure them out. The difference, though, between Gallup and some of the other assessments, like I've taken DISC, I've taken Enneagram, Myers-Briggs. I used to love Myers-Briggs, and I still like it a lot. But, we have a world population of about 8 billion people. And if I took my DISC, that means I'm a DI, so high influencer. No surprise, right? But it's going to divide me in about 12 profiles, which ends up being the same. I'm the same person as 666 million people. That means I'm the same as every Canadian, American, and Mexican in the world. Well, that's the analogy. Well, that's not true, that we're more unique than that. The Enneagram does a similar thing, and it gives you even more in depth. It gives you 27 profiles, but that means you're still the same as about 297 million people, about the same as everybody in Brazil. Clifton's is going to tell you it's full 34. If you took this assessment over and over, you're going to get very similar results. They're not going to flip around top to bottom. And even the staggering fact that if you and I had the same top 5 in the same order, it's 1 in 23 million. That's or 1 in 33 million. That's only 23 people in the world.
So let me get this right. I would have to go around and talk to 33 million other people in order to find one person that has the same top 5 in the same order I do out of 34.
Correct. Actually, it's kind of funny. I'd signed up for about 7 years ago when I did the Cliftons and the Strengths. I signed up for this Strengths twins, and what they do is they look for other people who have your same top 5 in the same order. I found one. I just got an email the other day. This has been 7 years because every time somebody inputs their information, they look around the world, and the guy actually lives in Germany. I think it's kind of crazy, right?
So, oh my gosh, you have to share that resource with me. That sounds amazing. I want to find my strength twin.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I'm going to I found him on LinkedIn, and, it connects you. So I wrote him and said, hey, we should get together. So I'm going to chat with him. Right. So super exciting, but still not very normal. The odds that our top 10 are the same out of our 34 talents is pretty small. It's 1 in 447 trillion. That's like the grains of sand in all the beaches. No one in human history has had the same top 10 in the same order as you. And then the other crazy thing, that if the odds that you and I have the same 34 in the same order, 1 in 259 undecillion stars in the universe, which means we're all very unique. It's pretty crazy that just like God has told us we're unique, he designs who we are. Our DNA is super complex. Where the other assessments are going to put you in your nationality, Clifton's going to put you at your front door, 3848 Drive. You can come right to my house and tell you who you are. Most people are amazed how accurate Clifton's is for them.
Yes. I've had so many clients tell me that. They're like, oh, I've done so many assessments, but I'm like, just trust me, right? So they do it and then start reading the report and they're like, oh my gosh, no wonder. This has been showing up my whole life. I just never had a way to articulate it. Like somehow they knew it inside, but they didn't know it.
They didn't know.
And yeah, and they're just so amazed. And that's just the beginning, right? Of knowing what your Clifton strengths are, is that amazement of, oh my gosh, this is me. When I read mine, I almost felt like it was like my heart and soul on a piece of paper. I was like, wow, I couldn't, like, if anybody's like, so tell me about yourself, I'm like, here, read my Clifton strengths report. This will tell you everything you need to know.
This is what you need to know. This is the cake recipe for Darcy Dunker.
Exactly. Love it. So cool. Okay, so what were we talking about? Oh, why? Why should they focus on strengths then rather than weaknesses, right? Or did you ask me a question? I forget where we were, but I sent it right back to you and was like, because you're so unique, right?
That's exactly. Well, give a real life application from one of your clients, if you can, without sharing, confidentialities.
Right.
You've seen them be able to identify their strengths and then really change what they were doing.
And actually I will just identify him because he won't mind at all. So the first person that just came to mind was my husband. And so I did strengths for my husband, and he was looking to move out of education into educational leadership. And so we built an entire platform based on his strengths because we knew he could show up completely authentically, completely who he was in his interviews and everything else, and just nail it because of how we structured kind of like how we branded him, and so he's a high relator. And so I'm like, you got to talk to people. Like you have to talk one-on-one with people. And so he did a really good job about that, just reaching out and being like, hey, can we have a conversation about this? Because his high relator is going to allow him to make connections with people really quickly. His second one is competition. And so that was really fun, right? I'm a maximizer. I want to make everything better. But his second is competition. And so I was like, hey, so look at these websites that other people have done, right? What do you think? Like if they're your competition, he's like, oh yeah, we got to make a website. I'm like, okay, great. And then on the days he would like get discouraged about finding a job, or whatever, I would just be like, using references that I knew would motivate him. I'm like, you can't win if you don't play the game.
Yep.
And so really encouraging him to keep applying, that type of thing. And he was able to build just a platform about who he was and what he's going to bring based on his strengths. And it is amazing. And he was excited to go into interviews rather than nervous because he knew who he was, what he brought, and the change that he could affect. Holy confidence building,
Yeah, totally. I know Dave helped me figure out a thing we do with people who are doing job interviews. And you take one of your top strengths. People almost always ask you, well, tell me a couple of your strengths. So that's easy. You just take one of your top 15 and just talk about it. I have woo. I love to meet people. I love to network with people. I'm a good salesman, all those kind of things, And then they're almost always ask you about your weaknesses. And so one of the tips we use to help people is you take one of your bottoms, like I have discipline, which is order, really low. So it's really hard for me to order things. And so, well, what are your weaknesses? Well, one of my weaknesses, I really struggle with order. But one of the things I do to compensate that is I love getting stuff done right now. So rather than make a whole line list of stuff, I just do it immediately. And then I don't have to have order because I get it done. So actually, my weakness is a superpower that I have as a strength, right?
Right. Because you must have activator.
I do. Right?
That's why.
Right?
So if you get it done right now,
get her done now. Right now.
Right.
Just keep pulling the trigger. You got 6 more bullets. We're good. We'll hit the target eventually. And and then you come across authentic because you're not making up something that you're not good at. You really are not that great at it, and it's very authentic in the job interview. So it comes across as authentic, which is really helpful too.
Right. And hey, just a career coach advice out there, throwing this out there. When you get asked that question, if you know your strengths are the bottom ones, like you said, that's an easy question. But please don't say, oh, I'm so committed to my job that I work so much all the time and I have a hard time stopping working. That's such the typical answer, right? Yep. So don't say that.
Not a good idea.
Hey, but you bring up a really good point. I forget what day it is, Bill, but we're actually going to be talking about, hey, how do you manage those weaknesses? And so you just talked about, right, using another one of your strengths to kind of make up for your low discipline, And so do you remember what day that was that we'll be talking about that?
Just a second, and I'll tell you, I'm looking for it.
I keep asking you for stuff.
I don't know. I don't have this. Let's look in the calendar. I'm bringing it up, right? Tactics on Thursday, May 9th at noon. Come join us. We're going to give you 4 tactics for covering your weaknesses. That's what we're doing.
Oh, man. And they're powerful. My life has changed since then.
Oh, yeah. Transformational.
Oh my gosh.
One of the big things for me is I had a bunch of limiting beliefs around who I was because I have all these influencing themes. I'm a lot to take at times. I'm very pushy. I'm very blunt. I'm very in your face because I want to influence you and get you to do stuff and give you courage to go take these huge risks. But on the downside, that's kind of rude and people don't like it sometimes. So I've been able to figure out how to moderate that and hit the gap, hit the brake on that. And then in my low areas, like my lack of discipline, I don't have strategic thinking. So I get stuck when there's too much information, things like that. So I just phone a friend. I get a VA, a virtual assistant, so I don't have to order all that stuff. So she asked me on Mondays, hey, we're doing that email this week. Right. I was about to go send that to you. So sorry. No judgment. She just reminds me and then I'm like, I can do it, So yeah. I think it's been awesome to be able to feel free that this is really who I am. I'm right-handed. This is not who I am. I don't paint with my left foot. That's okay. That's actually a good thing. Maybe there are people who can paint with their left foot. It's just not me.
Yeah. And you brought up one of my favorite words, which is freedom. I would say if I had to choose one word about knowing my strengths, that would be the word. It's freedom. Yeah. Freedom. That's what it brings for me. So, yeah.
Well, hey, I know we're closing in on our time. Why don't you tell them about the awesome thing that we're going to do this next week that we're excited about?
Right. Okay. So really quick heads up here. We're kicking off a beta test for our new expiring mini course next week. And it's all about boosting your strengths. So our aim is to help you unlock your inner Titan by really getting to know your true self and understanding your limits as well. So the goal is to help you become the best that you can be and setting you up for success in all that you do, right? Yeah. Do you want to tell them any more about that?
Yeah. Hey, we're going to dish out some more details soon. So keep an eye out on these lives that we're going to do. We're going to do them every day except for Tuesday this week on Facebook. If you have our emails, then you'll see that probably come out in the emails. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these videos. I know some of these, we're doing it live, but a lot of people will see this later. So if you have any comments, comment right now. If you'd like to hear more about this expiring mini course we're going to do, you can DM us, either of us. You could email me at bill@rocketfuelcoach.com or Darcy at
darcydunker.coaching@gmail.com.
And we'll put you on the priority list so you can listen to it. Our hope is to get the word out to everybody, that the whole world would figure out how to focus on their strengths, cover their weaknesses, and really become the best versions of who they are. We're excited to do these things. These lives are kind of freaky and kind of weird, but we want to get the word out. So we're just going to tell people what we're doing, and we thought we'd come on and have conversations and get to meet some new friends we haven't met yet. And it's exciting to learn new things about each other, even we don't know, even though we know each other pretty well.
For sure.
Sweet.
All right.
Out?
That's it. Signing off. We'll see you on Wednesday. Same time, same place.
Have a great day. Thanks to everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Darcy.